Welcome back. Sprawling encampments of unhoused people dotting many of the country's biggest cities are ubiquitous reminders of homelessness here in America. But now, a growing number of communities are taking what's being seen as punitive approach to clear them out, making it a crime in some places to sleep outside, even when some say they have nowhere else to go. So is it cruel and unusual punishment? The Supreme Court will tackle that question next week. And Devin Dwyer reports for us from Grants Pass, Oregon, about what's at stake.
On the banks of the Rogue River, tucked away under trees on the side of the road, even in center field of the local Little League ballpark, the homelessness epidemic is inescapable, even in sleepy Grants Pass, Oregon. Population 40,000, roughly 600 call parks like this one home. Brandon, a 38-year-old Grants Pass native, says he has no choice.
So the city came in and said you can't camp right there on those wood chips.
The officer said I was too close to the playground and I was too close to the fence.
Local law requires that he move his camp every 72 hours. The city had tried to ban camping in parks outright, but was blocked by a federal court for now.
If I don't feel like I belong, I'm going to feel like an outsider, and then I'm going to want to continue doing the same thing because there's no reason to thrive for anything different.
There's no place to go.
Helen Cruz knows the indignity firsthand. Over 5 years living in parks before a nearby church took her in, she says she received more than $5,000 in camping-related fines.
I was holding down 2 jobs when I was out here, and still not enough to be able to rent a place. Their terms of low-income housing here is $1,000 a month, and that's not workable either, you know.
So when the police come through and they do a sweep of this area, what do they do? What do they tell you?
If you don't comply, you are trespassed and you could possibly go to jail.
The city of Grants Pass is among a growing number of American communities passing laws to crack down on homeless encampments. A perfect storm of skyrocketing housing prices, sunsetting COVID relief programs, a mental health and drug abuse crisis, and an aging population without retirement savings has led to record numbers of unhoused people nationwide.
For all intents and purposes, a lot of the behavior you see here today is illegal. And then our community will ask, well, what are you doing about it, Chief?
Chief Warren Hensman says his officers are caught in the middle.
We have community members in Grants Pass that are afraid to come to their parks. We've had shootings in our parks. We've had fights in our parks, chronic drug abuse in our parks. So much of our citizenry are not walking through our parks.
In 2013, the city passed an ordinance banning anyone from using a blanket, pillow, or cardboard box for protection from the elements while sleeping in public. Local Representative Dwayne Yunker says it was intended to crack down on unsanitary conditions and crime.
Critics of Grants Pass say the council has tried to criminalize homelessness. Is that what's going on here?
We do have a responsibility to keep people safe. And that's the struggle, is how do we keep everybody safe? Is it safe to have a kid playing in the park where there's a tent 20 feet away? I don't know what the people in the tent are doing.
But with no public shelters inside city limits, a group of homeless residents allege the new law was cruel and unusual punishment. They sued in federal court and won.
We're fighting between what the law is telling us and what the people want us to do and trying to make everybody happy. That's a big, huge struggle for us, a city government.
Criminalizing the victims of our failed housing policy is morally wrong, and it's unconstitutional, and that's essentially what the city of Grants Pass has done by making it illegal for someone to exist while being homeless.
I had a beautiful vegetable garden. I love to cook.
Laura, a 55-year-old Grants Pass native and mother of 3, says homelessness hit suddenly after her husband died in 2021 and health problems sent her to the hospital.
Have you been ticketed by the city?
Yeah. I have over a dozen citations.
And what are the citations for?
Mostly for scattering rubbish, and that means that anything outside of your 8-foot by 8-foot diameter limits is considered rubbish, trash.
Her home is now a tent in this park.
I needed a little bit of color out here.
A single daffodil, one small sign. Laura is clinging to hope.
There's those of us that are struggling and fighting and taking one step out as we're digging out of the hole.
You have nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
But across the river,
You've got 78 beds in this building. It's only half full. Why is that?
Well, there's a lot of reasons. So this is what we call our 30-day dorm.
Brian Boteller says the doors are open at the only private homeless shelter in town, the Grants Pass Gospel Rescue Mission. For over 40 years, it's provided warm beds and meals, but with religious requirements.
How many times a day do they go to chapel?
Twice a day, our guys go to chapel. They go to chapel once in the morning, once in the evening.
The Lord said, learn a lesson from this unjust judge.
Residents must also quit smoking, drinking, and drug use and give up their pets.
The Ninth Circuit said that it's cruel and unusual punishment on the part of Grants Pass to cite and fine some homeless folks for living in the park when there's nowhere else to go.
Well, that's the big question. Is there nowhere else to go, or is there just nowhere else that they want to go?
Boteller says so long as courts say Grants Pass cannot ban camping in public, more people will choose to stay on the streets.
We've seen a drop in our residency, and we've seen an increase in people in our parks and freeway underpasses and that kind of stuff in places where they ought not be.
Cities from Phoenix to Los Angeles to Seattle have joined Grants Pass in appealing to the U.S. Supreme Court.
These encampments in California are unacceptable.
Elected officials from both parties urging the justices to make it easier for cities to clear tent encampments like these.
It's not acceptable for anyone to call the streets or a park their home, and cities need to have these ordinances so that they can help to incentivize people to accept offers of help. That's what these laws do.
The reality is the only thing that works is more permanent, affordable housing. This case is not going to solve homelessness. If we prevail in this case, our homeless problem is still going to be there. It just means that we can't criminalize people while they're homeless.
For Helen, Cruz, and Brandon, a lot is on the line.
We're just a small little community with a really big homeless problem and no place to put us.
Yeah, a problem Devin points out is all across this country.